The town of Millhaven never truly slept. Its factories ran through the night, smokestacks breathing grey into a starless sky. The streets hummed with freight, trucks moving goods that other people would profit from. Millhaven was a town built entirely on labour, and it consumed the people who gave that labour without ever saying thank you. Thomas Reyes knew this feeling personally. At 32 years old, Thomas worked as a night security guard at the Callaway warehouse. Every evening at 8 he reported for duty. Every morning at 6 he walked home alone. His job was painfully simple: walk the perimeter, check the locks, sign the log, repeat. 10 hours every night inside the same circle. Motion that went absolutely nowhere. He wore a faded uniform, carried a weak flashlight, lived in a single room with a mattress on the floor, a broken fan, and one flickering light bulb. His shoes had been repaired 3 times with rubber glue. Everything he earned disappeared into survival before it could become anything more. Every morning walking home, Thomas watched the town wake up around him. Fathers drinking coffee, children heading to school, people moving forward with their lives. And every morning the same thought pressed against his chest. These people are going somewhere. I am just going in circles. He had tried to change it. Applied for better jobs. Rejected. Looked into evening classes. Impossible with his night schedule. Asked about promotion. Told he needed a degree he didn't have. Every door was already closed before he reached it. He was not lazy. He worked hard every single night. But he was a hard-working man trapped inside a life that hard work alone could not fix. Every Sunday his mother Elena called from her small village. She was 61, looked older, and her voice carried a tiredness that went deeper than physical. Thomas, my son, when will things get better? I want to see you succeed before I go. He always said soon, but alone in his flickering room after every call. He felt the full distance between what he promised and what was true. No plan, no direction, no way forward. Only one thing kept him going. A quiet whisper in the silence of the warehouse at 2 in the morning. There has to be another way. What do successful people know that I don't? Then one cold November morning his sister called. Their mother had collapsed. She was in the hospital. Thomas arrived to find her small and pale beneath white sheets. Near midnight she opened her eyes, took his hand, and whispered the words that would change everything. Do not waste your life the way I wasted mine. Find a way, my son. Promise me. He stepped outside into the 5 o'clock darkness. The village was silent. Farmers were already walking to their fields in the cold pre-dawn. Something broke open inside him. No more, he whispered, I will find a way. He didn't know yet that the answer was closer than he imagined, waiting in the early morning hours he had been sleeping through his entire life. The bus back to Millhaven left at 6:15 in the morning. Thomas bought his ticket and sat by the window. His body was exhausted. His mind was wide awake, turning his mother's words over and over. Find a way, my son. Promise me. He had promised, but he still didn't know how. As the bus rolled through the quiet countryside, dawn slowly broke across the hills. Golden light spread over the fields. It looked like a fresh start, and for the first time in years, Thomas desperately wanted one. That was when he noticed the man across the aisle. He was in his 50s, well-dressed, calm and comfortable in himself. He held a book in one hand and wrote occasionally in a small notebook. He looked completely at peace, as though 6 in the morning on a countryside bus was exactly where he wanted to be. Thomas recognized him. Mr. Chun, a successful businessman, who owned several shops in Millhaven. A man people spoke about with quiet respect. Thomas gathered his courage. Excuse me, sir. Why are you on this early bus? Mr. Chun looked up and smiled. Because I wake up at 4:30 every morning. These quiet hours are when I read, think, and plan before the world wakes up. Don't you need sleep? I sleep at 9. 7 hours. Enough. He studied Thomas's tired face. You work nights. Security guard. I finish at 6. Mr. Chun nodded slowly. So you are awake when the world sleeps and asleep when the world works. No wonder you feel stuck. Thomas felt those words land deep inside him. Young man, the hours between 5 and 7 in the morning are magic hours. That is when you build the life you want while everyone else is still dreaming. 2 hours every morning. 14 hours a week. Over 700 hours a year. That is time everyone else is wasting. He wrote 2 lines in his notebook and showed Thomas. Hour 1. Learn 1 skill. Hour 2. Build your body and mind. Choose 1 skill. Accounting. Computers. Anything that opens a door. Commit for 90 days. No excuses. He tore out a card and wrote his number on it. Here is your challenge. 90 days of 5 o'clock mornings. After that, come show me what you built. If you did the real work, I will help you find a better opportunity. He paused firmly. But if you quit, don't call. Why would you help me? Thomas asked. Mr. Chun smiled quietly. Because 30 years ago a stranger did the same for me. I am just passing it forward. The bus pulled into Millhaven. Thomas stood up and looked at the card. I will start tomorrow, he said. Everyone says that, Mr. Chun replied. Very few mean it. We will see. Thomas stepped off the bus into the morning light. Same streets. Same town. But something felt completely different now. He looked at the card. Then at the bright open sky. Tomorrow at 5 o'clock. His new life would begin. Part 3. The first 5 o'clock alarm and the slow miracle of discipline. The next morning Thomas's alarm screamed at 5 o'clock. His body refused. His mind whispered just 1 more hour. You are exhausted. You worked all night. But he remembered his mother's face in that hospital bed. He remembered Mr. Chun's words. He remembered his own promise. He threw off the blanket and stood up. The room was cold and dark. The street outside was completely silent. The whole world was asleep and Thomas was standing in his flickering apartment choosing something different for the very first time. He sat at his small table, opened his phone, and found a free Excel course on YouTube. His eyes burned. His mind wandered. The video felt confusing at first, but he did not stop. He watched, rewound, took notes in a cheap notebook, and watched again. At 6 o'clock he put the phone down and walked outside. The streets were empty and cool. He walked for 30 minutes through the quiet neighborhood. The only person moving in a sleeping world. It felt strange at first. Then it felt powerful. By 7 he was back home. He slept until 2. 8. Prepared for his night shift. Then repeated everything the next morning. The first week was pure pain. His body ached from broken sleep. His eyes burned every morning at 5. His mind created every excuse imaginable. You are too tired. This is not working. Nothing will change. But Thomas kept showing up. By day 14 something small shifted. He woke up one morning at 4:58, 2 minutes before the alarm. His body had begun to adapt. The Excel tutorials started making sense. Formulas, spreadsheets, data organization, things that had seemed impossible now felt within reach. By day 21 it stopped feeling like torture. It started feeling like routine. He completed his first online certificate on day 30. He printed it from the library and held it in his hands for a long moment. It was a small thing. A free certificate from a free course. But it was the first qualification Thomas Reyes had ever earned in his adult life. And it felt enormous. His morning walks became something he genuinely looked forward to. The sunrise. The quiet streets. The feeling that while the whole world was still sleeping, he was slowly and steadily building something real. Nobody could see it yet. His apartment still flickered. His uniform was still faded. His life looked exactly the same from the outside. But on the inside everything was shifting. 2 hours every morning. 5 o'clock without fail. 1 skill. 1 direction. 90 days. He was only on day 30. But for the first time in years, Thomas Reyes felt something he had almost forgotten existed. Hope. Part 4. The breakthrough that changed everything at work. By day 60 Thomas had completed 3 online courses. Excel. Basic accounting. Business data organization. Every morning at 5 o'clock. Without a single exception he sat at his small table and learned. Every morning at 6 he walked through the quiet streets and grew stronger. His body was leaner. His mind was sharper. His eyes no longer burned at 5 in the morning. He had become someone who woke early. Not because he had to. Because he chose to. At the warehouse something had quietly changed too. Thomas began seeing his workplace differently. Not as a prison he was trapped inside, but as a problem he could solve. And one problem stood out clearly. The warehouse inventory system was a disaster. Stock was tracked on handwritten paper logs that were messy, slow, and constantly incorrect. Supervisors spent hours every week searching for missing items. The owner had complained about it for years, but nobody had ever fixed it. Thomas spent 3 mornings building a solution. He created a clean Excel spreadsheet that organized every product, location, quantity, and delivery date in one simple system. Color-coded. Easy to update. Something any staff member could use in minutes. On day 72, he walked into his supervisor's office before his shift and placed the printed spreadsheet on the desk. His supervisor studied it in silence for a long moment. "Thomas, how did you build this?" "I wake up at 5 every morning and teach myself." His supervisor looked up with an expression Thomas had never seen directed at him before. Genuine respect. Within 2 days, the spreadsheet had reached the warehouse manager, then the owner. On day 87, Thomas was called into the main office. The owner sat behind a large desk and got straight to the point. "Thomas, we are expanding our accounting department. We need someone who understands warehouse operations and has bookkeeping skills. The job is yours if you want it. Day shift. Double your current salary." Thomas stood completely still. 3 months ago, he was a tired, invisible night guard walking circles in an empty warehouse. Now he was being offered an office job, a real salary, a future. "When do I start?" He managed to say, "Monday." That evening Thomas called Mr. Chun. "I did it. 90 days. Not one morning missed. And today I got promoted." There was a pause. Then Mr. Chun's voice came through warm and proud. "I knew you would. You had the look of someone truly ready to change." A brief silence. "Now Thomas, don't stop waking at 5. That is not a strategy anymore. That is who you are." Thomas smiled. "I know," he said. "I know exactly who I am now." Part 5. The New Life, the Mother, and the Morning That Never Stops. Monday morning Thomas walked into the office for the first time. Clean shirt. Repaired shoes polished until they shone. A cheap notebook under his arm. He sat at a real desk, opened a real computer, and began real work. Not walking circles in the dark. Not checking locks on empty doors. Building something. Contributing something. Being seen. His coworkers were friendly. His manager was patient. And Thomas was the most focused person in that building. Every single day, because he understood something the others didn't. He understood exactly what it had cost to sit in that chair. Every morning he still woke at 5. Not because anyone required it. Not because Mr. Chun was watching. But because those 2 hours had become the most sacred part of his day. Hour 1 he learned new accounting software. Studied business reports. Pushed his skills further. Hour 2 he walked, planned, and prepared his mind for the day ahead. The results compounded quickly. Within 2 months, his manager noticed his speed and accuracy. Within 3 months, he was handling accounts that senior staff had previously managed. He was not the loudest person in the office. He was not the most educated. But he was the most consistent. And consistency, Thomas had learned, eventually beats everything. He saved carefully. Every week a small amount set aside. Then a larger amount. Then enough. 4 months after his promotion, Thomas called his mother. "Mama, pack your things. You are coming to live with me." Silence on the line. Then the sound of Elena crying quietly. Not from sadness but from the particular relief of a mother who had waited a long time to hear exactly those words. He found a decent 2-bedroom apartment on the better side of town. He arranged proper medical care for her blood pressure. He stocked the kitchen with real food. He bought her a comfortable chair by the window where she could sit in the morning sun and watch the street below. The first morning she woke in the new apartment she found Thomas already at his desk at 5 o'clock. Notebook open, phone screen glowing in the quiet dark. She stood in the doorway watching him for a long moment. "Thomas," she said softly, "what are you doing at this hour?" He looked up and smiled. "Building, Mama," he said. "I am building." She looked at her son, this man who had been lost and was now found, who had been invisible and was now becoming someone. And she smiled the smile she had been saving for years. Outside the window, the sky was turning from black to deep blue. Dawn was coming. Another morning. Another 2 hours. Another quiet act of construction while the world still slept. Thomas turned back to his work. 5 o'clock. Right on time. 1 year after that cold November morning outside the yellow clinic, Thomas Reyes was unrecognizable. Not physically, he was still the same man. Same face. Same hands. Same quiet voice. But everything around him had changed because everything inside him had changed first. He was now the lead accountant at the company. He had moved his mother to the city. He lived in a clean apartment with working lights and a fan that actually spun. He had savings in a bank account he no longer feared opening. He had a future with a shape he could see. His co-workers sometimes asked him the same question. Thomas, you have already succeeded. Why do you still wake up at 5 every morning? He always gave the same answer. Because success is not a destination. It is a daily practice. And mine begins at 5 o'clock. They would smile politely and return to their coffee. Most of them would never understand. And that was fine. Thomas had stopped needing people to understand. He only needed to show up. Every morning. Without negotiation. Without excuse. Because here is the truth that Thomas's story teaches us. The difference between the life you have and the life you want is not talent. It is not luck. It is not who your family is or what school you attended or what city you were born in. It is simply this: how you use the hours when everyone else is sleeping. Between 5 and 7 in the morning, the world is quiet. No distractions. No noise. No one competing for your attention. Your mind is fresh. Your willpower is at its peak. And in that silence you can build, one skill, one morning, one small step at a time, an entirely different life. Thomas had nothing when he started. No degree. No connections. No money. No plan. He had only a promise. Made beside his mother's hospital. Bed and an alarm set for 5 o'clock. That was enough. So here is your challenge. The same one Mr. Chun gave Thomas. Tonight set your alarm for 5 o'clock. Put your phone across the room. Choose one skill to learn tomorrow morning. Protect your 9 o'clock bedtime. And show up. Not once. Not twice. Every single morning for 90 days without exception. Your life will not look the same. Maybe not in 30 days. Maybe not in 60. But in 90 days you will have become someone different, more disciplined, more capable, more confident. And that person can build anything. Thomas started with nothing but a decision made in the dark. You already have more than he had. The only question remaining is simple. Tomorrow morning when that alarm goes off at 5 o'clock, will you get up? Your future self is already awake and waiting. Don't make them wait any longer.